All right. Welcome back to Eyes Open Media. Prophet John here. Hope you guys are doing well. Okay, very quick video here, and and this is Joe Biden. He says this is a couple days ago. This was on the 18th, but I think a lot of people missed this tweet here. But I did see some of the African American ADOS leaders talk about this, and they were not happy at all. But let me just go through it here. And it says, "Here's my promise to you uh, on day one." And he's just talking to, I think he's talking to the dreamers and the undocumented people. So he says, "Here's my promise to you." Basically, on day one, I will send a bill to Congress that creates a clear roadmap to citizenship for dreamers and 11 million undocumented people who are already strengthening our nation. It's long overdue. Okay, so he's basically trying to speed up the process of citizenship, um, for the dreamers and the 11 million undocumented people. Now, why would he want to do that? Well, because these are people that liberals have brought in, Democrats have brought in, right? These are liberal. Basically, the liberals have brainwashed these people, right? And so they're going to vote liberal because the Dreamer program and the 11 million undocumented people are Joe Biden saying he's fighting for you. We brought you people in because the liberals brought you in, Democrats brought you in, Republicans hate you, and things like that. You know how they spin it. And so we're gonna create a roadmap where you become citizens very, very quickly. And why would Joe Biden need to do that? Well, if somehow he pulls up the major upset here, because the you know the elites have already had meetings that Donald Trump would win in two terms already. So if there was some type of upset here, and some type of switch at the last second here for Joe Biden, then Joe Biden wants to make sure that Democrats, because I don't think he's going to be able to run again because he's really old, right? So 4 years from now, Joe Biden's going to, he's already struggling now, right, with mental issues and things like that. I don't even know if he will be able to complete 4 years. You know how draining it is to be a president. You see how they age tremendously in 4 years, right? Joe Biden's already old and he can barely remember anything right now. So imagine him being a president and having to deal with all of the things that come with being a president. He would be aging very rapidly, right? Into not knowing and forgetting things, not stumbling his speeches and things like that on television. It wouldn't be pretty at all. But anyways, but he wants to get the 11 million undocumented people in there quickly so that by the time the next elections come up, the 2024 elections come up, they're ready to vote. And why is he doing this? He's doing this because the African American ADOS people are waking up to the bullcrap that there is no agenda for them. The liberals have no agenda for the African American ADOS people. They just don't have an agenda for you. They're not promising you anything. They feel like they don't even need to talk to you. Joe Biden gave Charlemagne the God like what 16 minutes of his time, like, but he gave everybody else hours. The number one urban urban station, right? Breakfast Club in the world, right? Breakfast Club is the number one urban station in the world. Probably right at the top five radio station in the world. Well, you know what I mean? And he gave them 15 minutes and said he had to go. They had said he has to go. And then he said, "Well, if you don't know by now, and then to vote for me, then you're not black." Right? So this is the disrespect that Joe Biden and many of these politicians do to the urban African American ADOS people, and they expect you to vote. So now that Biden said those statements and comments, he knows that many of the African American ADOS people are not going to be voting for him. He has no agenda for them or for us. He has no plans on reparations. He has no plans on any type of agenda to rebuild the cities and states and things like that. No agenda at all. If you read his agenda, right, for his quote unquote black agenda, right? It says a lot of stuff in the beginning, and then when it actually comes down to where the money's going, the titles change from African Americans, ADOS, descendants of slaves. It changed for that to minorities and all colored people. And it's like, what happened to the wordage, right? At the beginning you're talking about African Americans and ADOS people and natives, native brown people, and then all of a sudden when it's time to cut the check and tell us where the funds are going, it changes. The wording changes to minority. And white people are minorities, right? LGBT people are minorities, right? Right? Cubans and Mexicans and Spanish people are minorities, right? So we went from saying African American and ADOS, the whole freaking agenda, and then when it's time to cut the checks are going to minorities and white people and white women and LGBT and Spanish people. It's not going to African Americans. And so this is what you see over and over and over again with these people that are these liberals and the Republicans as well, right? Because if the Republicans were so good, then why haven't they invested money into the African American communities, right? So Donald Trump's been in office for 3 years, or about to be 4 years now, and then the African American community is still at the bottom. No resources coming in. The neighborhoods still look like crap. Now Donald Trump did say that he was putting out like a $3 to $4 trillion reconstruction project, and so I guess, but that's going to be for his next term if he wins. That's not going to benefit anybody right now, unless he announces that they're going to actually start it right now, right? And and because it wouldn't take long to rebuild America. I say we could rebuild America in 6 months if we had a whole bunch of construction workers and staff members ready to go. You have 100,000 people ready to go to rebuild. I mean, it doesn't take long to rebuild at all. Okay, so but yeah, the thing, we can't say that the Democrats care, right? Because if the Democrats actually care, they would have done something by now. Oh, but the thing about the Democrats is that they'll tell you, well, we give you welfare, we'll give you food stamps, and they act like that's caring. It's like a guy who beats his it's like a guy who beats his wife and tells her that I give you a place to live. You know what I mean? Like I give you a place to stay. You know what I mean? Like you get to live in my house, but you're beating them every day. You're abusing them, right? So it's like I give you food stamps and welfare, but what is that supposed to do, right? like that's the, like that is poverty. Like you're basically saying you don't want us to grow. You don't want us to achieve anything. You just want us to sit there and rely and depend on you for food stamps and welfare checks. You don't want us to become bosses. You don't want us to become wealthy business owners. You don't want that for African American ADOS. You want us to stay on welfare and be at the bottom and be laughed at and be looked at as people that to avoid doing business with these people because they're at the bottom. They're cursed people, right? That's what they want us to be, to have the image of, right? These people, we shouldn't give them loans. We shouldn't do anything to them because they're cursed. They're at the bottom of the bottom. They take food stamps and welfare checks, right? Even though we know more Caucasians in America are on welfare and food stamps than African Americans, but that's because the numbers. I mean, there's literally 3 times more Caucasians than there is African Americans in this country. I bet that if there was the same amount of African Americans in this country, it'd probably be African Americans, a huge percentage, right, over Caucasians, in my opinion, because a lot of African Americans have fell for the booby trap of, yeah, let's just live here in this cracked out apartment with on food stamps and welfare and do nothing with our lives. and that's just not how we were supposed to be. We're not supposed to be those types of people. No one should be that type of person, right? Nobody. Not even. Now, I don't care what race you are, what skin color you are. It's not really race. I keep saying race, but we already know that race is that's not really what race is. I did a video on that already. They switched the definitions of race. We get that race. It was just it was a race. It was actual a race, right? It wasn't a skin color. They switched it to skin color. I don't know when they did that, but that was not the definition of actual race. It was not about skin color, and I did a video on that. So check out that video about racism, which was an actual race to find new land and to build it up using slaves. It has nothing to do with skin color. They switched it to skin color at some point. I don't know when they did that, but they switched it, and everybody fell for the booby trap. All right, but anyways, Joe Biden's going to try to get these dreamers and 11 million undocumented people because he knows that they're going to be voting liberal, and so he wants to get these people in there and get them citizenships as quick as possible so that they can vote liberal in 2024. Basically, speed them up and bypass the process of becoming a citizen in America the normal way, because he wants to make sure that these dreamers and 11 million undocumented people are voting liberals, voting Democrat in the 2024 election. Peace out, God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Eyes open.